this part of it.
All right, we're live.
All right, welcome everybody. Happy Thursday. And let me share out my screen here. We'll always start with wins, but I also had Chip. Sorry for sharing my Zoom. Give me 1 second as I move everything around here. All right, so Jim, we'll start with wins of the week. Chip said he'll be here at the bottom of the hour, and I know we've got some discussion around migration of help desk. And then I've got some new phishing attacks and some ideas of automating IR. And I hope Leron's here because I've got some development cycles that I've already um, committed him to. So are you here, Leron?
Yeah, I'm here, Andrew. I
All right.
always love getting work from you.
All right. All right. Mr. Jim, I'll let you take it over with the wins of the week.
Okay, first, anyone questions people have that I can answer before I get to wins of the week?
No.
Okay. Sounds good. So I guess we'll open it to the floor for wins of the week. Anyone want to share any stories from this past week in cybersecurity?
Yeah. Anybody, while we're waiting for someone to chime in, anybody deep dive into what the awesome work Ben did last week on TokenSmith? I thought that was really good stuff he did. Did anybody take a look at that video?
It was awesome.
Yeah, really, really well done.
Yesterday I was playing around with evil Jinx or Genex, whatever you want to call it, and made a modification to one of their files and kind of integrated TokenSmith with that. So I'll be putting a video together on how you can get a foothold on an environment even if they're using intra compliant devices, and also if they're using the token protection, you can still kind of get at least a little bit of information about their environment.
Ben,
They had a baby.
What's that, Enrique?
They had a baby. He created a monster over there.
Kinda, yeah, basically, yeah. It's pretty funny. So like, if you're using an environment, a buddy over and over at Logically, we kind of tested it out to see if if you could still get the token for like a compliant device conditional access policy, and you kind of could, but you couldn't really do much with it. But this helps you do a lot more. So I'll be putting a video together with that pretty soon.
Okay, very cool. Ben, I'm just curious, was there any feedback after that publication of the proof of concept, like anything from Microsoft of, now that this is starting to proliferate out there and, you have security researchers and obviously, they've given a gift to threat actors on what they can do with it. But nothing you've seen in the news from Microsoft discussing, kind of a counterpoint to it.
No, I haven't really heard too many of the other security professionals talking about it either. So
I was talking with the folks from Black Hills, and obviously they're very much in the know on it. And
okay.
So yeah, I'm surprised there hasn't been more discussion about it. Or then again, it's probably again what's low hanging fruit. It's way easier to social engineer your way in than, even, something like this. So, or then once you're in, you can then use something like this.
Yeah, like in my example last week, it required the user to go to a particular URL, and then for the user to give that you had to inspect the page and get that URL and give it to the bad guy. But when I teamed it up with Evil Jinx, I was able to steal the token and accomplish all that stuff on the threat actor side. So I didn't have to have any interaction from the actual victim. So
maybe you should throw that like over to Microsoft and get $100,000 payoff. Bounty.
Would be nice.
You should consider submitting it.
Yeah, I mean it was really easy change for Evil Genex to be able to incorporate that.
Yeah. Good stuff. Or
I
give
was
it to because maybe one of her clients doesn't take her advice, that big client that's getting bought, and then she can just ransom them or
there you go, team. We were thinking about I was thinking about doing a demo of it during office hours next week.
You
Didn't know.
should.
Yeah, I didn't know if I should do that, or we were also talking about, kind of how you can use some of these automation platforms with SaaS alerts via the API and be able to make changes and automation. So there's either that or the hackery stuff.
So there's a few points. So Stephen, can you clarify what you mean by the Intune application example was shared? I mean, did Ben share it, quote unquote, the
Mhm.
video? Is that the
I was
question?
just referring to something I saw in Discord, I think, and I try to keep up. We don't use the managed SaaS alerts, but I try to keep on up with cool things that get found in these rules to see how we can implement it to try to take advantage, because we have can end up with a situation where we might have respond turned on, but if we didn't have a rule for this, or if the rule wasn't set just the right way, it's easy to miss. And so just thinking about how to making sure I don't miss out on some of these good findings.
Yeah. And Ben, can you reiterate, were there certain IOCs that you've put into managed SaaS alerts now to give you some insights into this if somebody is trying to do this exploit?
There's the rules that we were kind of considering, but the problem is that it would show up legitimate if it's normal behavior, kind of like if the client does use Intune and they enroll devices, obviously I can't be like, no, we're going to block your account.
Right.
But like, I think the rule that I set up and put on Discord was to say, hey, maybe monitor for people that are going to this part of Microsoft and maybe do it like kind of like whitelist certain IP addresses to say if it's not coming from like your office IP or their office IP, then maybe alert on it. But it's a normal part of Microsoft, and
It's
it's
a
a
feature.
sneaky attack. Yes,
Yeah,
and I guess maybe
well,
that's why I haven't done anything about it.
well, that's Stephen, that's what they said to the folks. What was the name of the firm that did the original exploit when they published the TokenSmith? Trying to remember who it was, but anyway, and then the other Bay Area is asking for the URL to your channel, Ben.
Sure. Yeah, I can pop it over.
Um, so any wins from y'all out there this week that you want to kind of share? Um, let's see.
If nobody else speaks up, I will speak
Please.
in place of someone in the Antipodes. One of our folks down under, during an onboarding session, we onboarded a client. We're going through the platform, doing the demo, sort of teaching them how to use the platform, and we found EM client active under one of his end users. They chased it down, and of course they stopped the behavior. But the shadow IT report pointed that out in 2 seconds flat. I mean, literally 5 minutes after they had him on the platform, they detected this. So use those reports when you're prospecting. There's a lot of good intelligence to be drawn there, even if there's not an active threat underway.
That's awesome. What was the feedback from the client?
They had some educational opportunities with the end users, and they found out they were using the same password again and again and again. And so that's where they're not sure where that password came from, but the threat actor had just started poking around and trying to use those credentials all over the place until they succeeded.
Like we talk about week after week, it's hygiene. It's not that hard. We don't make it that difficult for threat actors, do we, Anthony? I mean, geez, it's amazing.
We had one I could speak to. I guess it wasn't necessarily a win. We are up to 100% on our respond connections for the orgs that are all connected, and so we got all those in. But we had a business email compromise that we used all US based IPs that was successful at a customer, but didn't trigger necessarily any rules. But this is also a customer that didn't have a lot of the licensing that has been recommended. And so we may not have stopped it, but we identified it and were able to show, the full sort of chain of activities and what was going on. And coming out of that incident, the client is, interested in getting their cyber insurance established and, changing their licensing. And so you know, whether it stops an attack and successfully or helps you respond overall better, you know, it definitely helps us get the information turned around quickly so we can then let the clients make the decisions that they need to make. And so, yeah, it's leading to a good result overall.
Stephen, have you or anybody out there, I'll start with you, Stephen, have you used this kind of in conjunction with your security awareness training? Like, let's just go back to what Anthony said. Hey, we're seeing repeated, passwords via, the SaaS alerts, assessment, if you will, for lack of a better word, or onboarding. Have you, or starting with you, Stephen, combined it? Have you thought about doing that?
The the security awareness training, I think it definitely leads into that. I don't think that I don't think this customer had security awareness training necessarily. But yeah, I think it may help spur some to add it when we show this sort of thing happen.
I was just curious. So Jim, is that one of the things being discussed, like Graphis, since that's a, could say a product that, like, hey, if we're seeing, maybe, again, and I'm wondering how, what's the Rufus or whatever the dog's name is he seeing stuff
Cooper.
like Cooper?
Yeah,
So
well,
like, hey, this is a way to, hey, we're seeing, basic hygiene being ignored.
Mhm.
We're recommending this security awareness training for this end customer.
Yeah, so 2025 is definitely going to be a big year for Kaseya on the AI front. Cooper, whether it's Cooper Insights or Cooper Bots, has a lot to do with that, and going to be looking to leverage as much machine learning and AI within the products on a go-forward basis as possible. We're actually solidifying all the roadmaps in 2 weeks for 2025 in Phoenix
Okay.
at a product offsite. So a lot of good stuff coming.
That's good. Cool. Anybody, since I started with Stephen, anybody kind of leveraging the two together? I see it as a perfect, again, maybe I'm not seeing it the way you guys would, but I would use that as a perfect opportunity to talk to them about, what are their policies with security awareness training? How are they implementing it? If again, if scenario where, like Stephen said, oh, they're not doing it. Anybody doing something like that? No. Okay. Well, I guess that wasn't a great idea, Jim.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. All right. Or no one's doing it. I don't know. One or the other. Just let me know in chat whether you think it's a good idea or not. Oh, good for you, Tina. So SAT is they're getting it no matter what, which is awesome if I'm hearing you correctly in chat.
Is it, I got distracted for a moment. That's Graphis and SaaS alerts together, or?
I just posed the question, and like, hey, Anthony uses this example, clients using the same password over and over and over, or is it Bullfish? Okay, Bullfish.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Bullfish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for confusing the two. See,
Okay.
if I had Rufus or Cooper here, he would have helped me, Jim.
Right. Yeah. Once you get to Vegas, you just lose track of stuff.
All right. All right. That makes sense now. Thanks.
Yeah. Ann, any wins for you?
Wins. I'm not sure if I have a win to report. I did just see news coming through that Fred is stepping aside. Is that?
Yes. That is
Wow.
true.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. He couldn't really handle Jim's presence.
Yeah.
It was, a blow to his ego that,
Yeah.
Town's not big enough for the two of you. Makes
Apparently, yeah.
sense. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Any other things you guys want to share on the win side? I see Gary Harlem out there. I'm really surprised we don't have a win from Gary because, we're talking good old Rhode Island, Gary. There's always wins. Certainly not from the Patriot.
Nothing here. The good news is I'm not in Rhode Island.
Oh.
I'm joining the Jim Lippy methodology of staying out of the north, although it does feel like I'm up north right now, but I'm down in Florida for the next couple of months.
Yeah, it's pretty cold down here, huh, Gary? It's 53
It
where I
is.
am, Tampa.
I had to put the heat on.
Yeah.
Where are
Yeah.
you, Gary?
Outside of Sarasota.
Oh, okay.
Not far.
Yeah, it's been cold and it's gotten in the 30s in Tampa at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Just like
Andrew,
you,
I would
Tina-
argue that
Go ahead. Sorry.
every time we don't have a win, that's actually a win because it means the bad guys are not doing anything.
That's fair. Very, very good way of looking at the glass half full there, Leron.
I'm an optimist. Everyone knows this.
Yeah, absolutely. Tina, do you feel bad for us about how cold it is here? At about a minus what, 10? All right, let's get on into, so has Chip arrived yet or not quite?
Not quite. I have a question for the group though, Andrew.
Go, Jim.
So how many folks out there are using a true SIM product? And how are you paying for it? This is a subject I'm interested in lately.
So Jim, can we let's just qualify. Do you mean a unmanaged SIM as an example? I'm using MSPs on the margin don't do this. I'm using Splunk. I've got my own SOC, or I'm using something with, I'll call it a Blackpoint, whoever that's got a managed SIM that so I'm just trying to help. Do you care which one?
Probably more the managed side.
Okay.
Managed SIM.
Okay.
Because I see pricing models out there that are quite disparate. Like, you pay a certain licensing fee and then you're paying for your consumption on the data side. I'm just curious, what people are using and what they're paying for it, how they're paying for it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Question, would you consider like a Rocket Cyber with their web collector that we send all our logs to as a half-baked one, or?
To a degree, but they're not collecting everything. So it's not, I guess a true definition of a SIM.
Well, for certain sites, we do. Like if we have Graphics and the whole suite, we even have Checkpoint Firewall sending in the logs and stuff. So.
And Jim, is the trying you're trying to understand is A, who's using SIM, and B, disparity in pricing and
correct.
Wise. So former perch, if you will, Stephen, that is now ConnectWise SIM.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we have that for the clients that need it, but yeah, it's pricey to do it for anything days.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what I
it's
understand.
not everybody. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think someone just posted $2 per source. So that means if someone's got 10 applications, is that 10 sources on a per user basis?
Or
the way that Huntress was doing it, at least if I remember last meeting we had with them, is it's an endpoint as a source, like user identity is a source if you've got 365 stuff, and then like a data source. So like if you have a firewall shipping syslogs, that's a source.
Is Sam, what about endpoint? Do they have collectors on the endpoint considering those a source as well? Like,
yeah, so like one agent sitting on an endpoint is one source.
So in other words, if I have 100, hypothetically, I'm monitoring a client with 100 endpoints and I have a log shipper at every device at the end, that's every one of those is a source?
Yeah, if you've got 100 endpoints, that would be 100 sources there.
Okay, so does that help a little, Jim?
Yeah, it does. It does. Seems expensive.
You sound like Gary Pica.
I sound like Gary Pica?
Yeah, Gary's always.
Well, you know what?
Sounds expensive.
Yeah. You know what? There's worse people.
It sounds like you've got a solution coming for us.
I don't know, but there's worse people to sound like.
That's
Gary
true.
Pica.
No doubt. No doubt. I'm gonna actually ask Gary if he wants to be CEO. That's
Don't do that to us, please.
Oh my God. Can I get a snippet of that last 5 seconds, Amy, so I can send it over to
Absolutely.
All right, good,
Yeah,
good.
I was going to chime in. We use Blackpoint. I have a pretty small footprint, and I'm not sure what other MSPs are seeing with that. It's something I'd want to talk to more clients about, because I think it's important protection, and curious to see if there's other low-cost solutions coming out. But seems like the price on the small business side is kind of high for small businesses to say yes to, except for ones that need it for a regulatory
I was
reason.
just going to ask you, Ann, is regulatory the primary driver when you do have it in place?
Yeah, it would be that. Plus, we have a few clients who just like, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to stay safe, and then they'll do it too.
Or
Got
usually
it.
it's contract driven, where, okay, they may not be in a space that requires it, but they know that their customers are, and so kind of by extension stuff, they're getting kind of moved up the stack.
Yeah. Steve,
Um,
I'm really glad you said that, because again, this goes into the whole like really good, I think the way to lead a sales conversation, again, not about our tech and our this, that, and the other, but again, like who are your largest customers? What contractual obligations? Are they in a regulated space? Do you foresee them sending down, some type of security questionnaire this year? Have you asked them about it? Right? Your customers that represent, 30, 40, 50, 60% of your revenue. Because I think you're right that, Brian Blakely says this, right? Like it's rolling downhill. And that's if that makes if I'm reading you correctly.
yeah, that's right. And I think there's going to be, more requirements coming from these questionnaires where it says, okay, well, we're having to say no to a lot of these things. And that might make them more competitive, and those differentiators. Good differentiator.
100%. Because again, take it away from we're recommending this, you need this to, are you willing to risk, this customer, right? And again, what are their, again, like for example, what about breach notification? Let's say they have very stringent breach notifications, right, Stephen, in your customer's contract with their biggest customer. And it's like, well, what does it say in breach notification? Well, you need to turn it around in X time. Well, if there's no logs, it's maybe a good question to ask them. Well, how are you going to tell them what was potentially exfiltrated?
Yeah. And I don't think what I think SaaS Alerts is really good at is helping provide a lot of good data and backing for that kind of access management. I mean, and having that sort of activity is really helpful, even if it is kind of like a SIEM light. But yeah, I think that is definitely part of it. I don't think I would look for it to be like a super comprehensive SIEM, but I think for that, that access and managing and being able to alert on it and act on it, it's be one at the top of the class.
Yeah, Jim, are you thinking more like along the, hey, could we have like an XDR platform now that we're teaming up and we've got SaaS Alerts playing the cloud, a lot of the cloud, typical cloud related things that are meaningful to MSPs and their customers.
Right.
Well, to be able to integrate with the SOC. I mean, my personal preference would be to have some sort of access for SOCs to get into it, but using the ConnectWise perch SIEM SOC, it'll probably never happen. So, we have to manage kind of multiple teams sometimes. Yeah.
And we do, by the way, we are in favor of children beating, so keep them up, whoever's.
I was going to say, it's just ironic that while Stephen King was talking, someone was getting murdered in the background.
Sorry. Yeah, my hooligans. Thanks, everyone.
It's awesome. That was awesome. Thanks, Stephen, for those comments. And look, we're just taking a lot of feedback in right now from the community and looking at what's next in terms of, we've got a lot of I now own the security suite at Kaseya. So we have a lot of power, a lot of tools at our disposal right now. How can we potentially do more with the aggregate and make, 1+1+1 = 10?
So did you see Bay Area's question to you, Jim, and Chad about Rocket
No.
Side being a SIM option?
Bay Area.
Sorry for calling you Bay Area. That's how it's coming through.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say what I just said, which is now that that I own all of the security suite, we're looking at all options right now to make a better solution for all of our customers.
Got it. Shopping. Very funny. Okay, good, Jim. Any other things you want to ask of the group, Jim? Like maybe what they got for Christmas or?
The chip should be coming on any second, I think.
All right, sounds good.
So I'm going to take this opportunity to go on mute and off camera.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
When Amy, would you let me know when Chip's here so we can talk about the help desk migration? And,
Yes.
sounds good. Liron, anything you want to ask while we wait for a minute for Chip on the dev side? Anything you're thinking of as you're, just getting in now this whole, conglomerate of products and, thinking about things?
I will say, Andrew, if I have 3,000 meetings in a single year, I get a $50 Amazon gift card. So I'm diligently working to hit that number. But we've been
3,000 meetings?
Yep.
What kind of meetings are they?
The goal is to have 16 30-minute meetings per day. That is my goal.
With customers or prospects?
I'm just kidding. No, let's just say there's a lot more meetings taking place.
Oh gosh, of course. Yeah.
But we've been a little bit quiet on our side over here, but as Jim just said, we are working to finalize our roadmap and do plan to present a lot more wireframes, a lot more ideas and concepts. And it's just taking us a lot of time to evaluate 50 or so products in order to determine the best possible integrations from a cybersecurity standpoint. And that is how we're looking at things. So I was going to say a win for us is, let's say our roadmap is 95% finalized at this point for 2025.
Oh, wow. That's saying a lot. There's a lot. Then you guys are well underway. All right. I don't see Chip yet unless I'm missing him.
No, I promised I would let you know when he pops in. I can speak a little bit to the help desk, but Chip is so much more articulate than I am, and he can answer questions that I probably
Don't
cannot.
self-deprecate yourself. That's for Gary to do.
I'm good at that.
So hopefully it's not just me that's in the know here and Chip is going to jump in, but for the sake of time and not just having radio silence while we wait on Chip, we're migrating the help desk from our existing Zendesk. I'm going to call it an instance because I don't know the proper terminology, and it's moving over to Kaseya's. So the good news about all of this is you're now going to have access to 24/7, 7-day support. You're going to have access to phone support, email support, all different kinds of options. But you're going to have to do one of two things. If you're already using Kaseya, you're going to be able to log in using Kaseya 1. If you're not, you can still submit tickets via the application, or you can go directly to the Kaseya help desk. Any tickets that are outstanding right now, they will migrate them over and start being worked through the new system. All of this happens as of January 18th.
Go ahead, Enrique. Or are you pledging the allegiance? I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Did you have a?
Yes, I did. So how about the ones that have two instances of SaaS alerts? The Kaseya 365 user one and the direct SaaS alerts.
I told you we needed to wait for Chip. I don't know.
All right, so
I had to throw you a curveball.
Good question. Okay, so why don't I'll start going through this. Let's as soon as he comes, Amy, just let me know and
I
we'll
will. And we can pause and pop back over to him.
absolutely. Is
Mike,
anything-
nothing's changing with MSA.
Okay. Let me share my screen. And Ben, since Chip's not here, maybe I can lean on you, or certainly lean on, lean on any comments too. So have you guys heard about this new phishing kit out there? It's a service called Rockstar 2FA. Again, this is nothing, again, you just sit there and go, well, we've seen things like this before. I know we have. I just want to keep you aware of what's coming and what's going to possibly be showing up in terms of attacks. So there's this new one, obviously Rockstar 2FA. The reason I wanted to bring it to your attention is because it's being widely, quote unquote, advertised. As noted here, it's advertised on services like ICQ, Telegram, etc. And it's very inexpensive. And they have great customer service, by the way, when you read through the articles, like a lot of these services do. I'm partially kidding, but that's really the irony of this is they have great customer service, great UI, and make it incredibly easy for anyone that is interested in nefarious type activity to begin doing these things. As you guys could imagine, being called Rockstar 2FA, this is another platform that's going to bypass 2FA, do cookie harvesting. So it does a lot of things we've been talking about in these types of attacks. They do a really good job. I'll put when we take a break and Chip comes on, I will put the URL for you guys to read about this. The article does a really good job about breaking down how the attack takes place, basically the architecture of the attack. No surprise, email delivery, compromising an account. We've talked about this one before with spamming tools. And of course, you're seeing here, I think what's nice about this is you can almost use this for education, like lunch and learn type stuff for your customers and prospects to give them literally insights into just how well structured the threat actors are in terms of showing their customers, these threat actors, what to do, how to do it, and the architecture behind it.
Andrew,
Yeah.
chips in. I was gonna raise my hand, but I don't know how to. Oh, there we
okay.
go. I just literally, as I said that, I just found the button.
Okay. Sounds good. Chip, I'll take a pause and let you come on in and
I
talk.
tried to do a little bit of talk about help desk, Chip, but I probably didn't do it justice. And Enrique had a question that I could answer.
Okay, coming in cold, so just hit me and I'll see if I can either swing, hit a foul, or hit one out of the park.
Welcome, Senor Chip. So what happens to us that have two instances of SaaS alerts? Now we could say at one, we could log in, we have our help desk under account 1. And we have our second, that's the 365 user SaaS alerts, not our main one.
Mm-hmm. So what happens to you in terms of how you manage like a ticket you want to open for one or the other?
Well, the one that's a 365 user SaaS alerts, that's not an issue because that's my regular Kaseya 1 login.
Yep.
But for my direct SaaS alerts instance, that user doesn't exist. We had to separate users because of the issue with the email. So that one doesn't exist in Kaseya 1.
Yep. I have a couple different answers for you here, Enrique. The first is that it would be fine for you to use your Kaseya 1 login and reference the other tenant. We can still find, if there's something going on with a specific customer in the other tenant, we can still find it. We just need to know how to talk to you. That's the first half of the answer. The second half of the answer is, honest to God, people, I promise this is not a setup. The reason I was late is because I had a pretty important call with the engineering team on the Kaseya billing side, and we're engineering the solution so that within a few weeks, you're not going to have two tenants. You can have your dream scenario, Enrique, that you asked for many weeks ago, and I told you you couldn't have. You'll be able to have one tenant, and you can have K365, standalone SaaS alerts, EDU pricing. You could have any of the different types that you want. What's going to change is you will you'll have a drop down now when you create a new customer organization, and you'll select the pricing tier for that particular customer, and we're going to be sending that differentially to the billing system.
Awesome. Is the drawback that we're going to pay more?
No, come on. When have we ever added a feature and then bumped up
I
cost?
forgot. Andy's not here. I forgot. Sorry.
That's right. Somebody had to ask to tell us we should pay more or we should charge more.
Awesome. That'll be awesome. So for now, we'll just open under our regular Kaseya.
Yeah, you can open it
endpoint.
under your regular ticket. Just in the ticket body, just let them know, hey, I'm talking about this particular tenant. I've got two. I'm talking about this tenant. This is the customer I see. Believe it or not, to our support team, that's all the same thing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely. Come on, Amy, you
Congrats
couldn't
on the
answer that?
billing stuff.
I definitely could not answer that.
Chip, I have a question about you say you could when you set up a new domain and there's EDU pricing, I imagine, for educational institutions. Is there also is there anything for government or like municipality or nonprofits as well?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it encompasses the whole SLED universe. Are you familiar with that term?
Yeah.
Okay, so there will be pricing for SLED. So it's state, local government, nonprofit, education, basically. And we anticipate other use cases moving forward. So we're building this in such a way that we can provide some other pricing vectors. One that we're looking way down the line for that probably is the easiest one to explain is we'll be building SaaS alerts to be functional with GCC High. It probably won't see that until 2026. That
Okay.
will actually cost more. So, there will be, instead of a SLED, there will be a Fed pricing. We'll call it Fed. But we've constructed this architecture so that we can add really an infinite number of different tiers based upon use cases. The obvious one is EDU. We have a lot of partners that sell to EDU. They all come to us and ask for special pricing for EDU. In the past, we've always had to do what Enrique, kind of like what Enrique has been doing, because he wants two different product lines and say, okay, you've got your EDU tenant at this price, and you've got your regular tenant at that price. We're just going to eliminate the requirement for both tenants.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
That's great.
And
Chip.
this is something we couldn't do as standalone SaaS alerts because the limitation of our billing system, part of which I really love. This is something we can do inside the Kaseya universe because there's more flexibility with their billing system. It takes a while based upon that flexibility to get done what we want to accomplish, but we're going to get it done.
Chip, can you go back? GCC High, obviously, with CMMC is going to be a big one coming forward. So it'd be FedRAMP, all the requirements that you have these.
Yeah, well, there's GCC and there's GCC High, two different things. And GCC High requires us to go through a different level of security clearance and approval. And we actually have to rewrite our back end to work separately with GCC High. That's why it's a 2026 kind of roadmap item. It's going to take a big chunk of time to do that. Standard GCC is actually the same set of endpoints for the Graph API and for logging as everybody else. So that actually functions today. We have partners out there that have connected customers that are on GCC, and they are functioning in SaaS alerts. Not a lot, but a few.
Yeah, that
But
makes
the
sense.
GCC High is DoD, security, not intelligence community, State Department. They're a whole different kettle of fish. we anticipate that we'll have MSPs that are going to be servicing them, maybe not directly, but through contractors that work with them, and they fall into the same category.
Oh, no doubt. No, yeah, no doubt you will. Okay, good, good, good. Other questions for Chip while we have him?
Throwing his name in the hat?
With,
Are
oh,
we
yes,
throwing his name in the hat?
that's true. Chip, just so you know, I've nominated you for CEO of Kaseya now that Fred is chairman. So
Yeah, I'm the guy that has the personality for that. I think Jim is a good nomination.
he's already been nominated.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think if you want my opinion, every one of you should write a letter to somebody in Kaseya or maybe at Insight and ask that Jim be made CEO. That I would, you know, I would love that. You know, you all heard me say way back in the announcement that I was not planning to stick around indefinitely. I'm definitely sticking around longer than I plan to already. If they made Jim CEO, I would commit to sticking around indefinitely. So.
All right, I'll get the petition ready. Kind of like, the I want my SaaS alerts APIs. So we'll just double down on that.
Yeah.
Tina's question for you on nonprofit pricing, Jim, is this only SaaS alerts direct or case 365, etc.?
So it's both. It's definitely both. There's definitely a K365 option available for SLED. Um, again, it's not available yet, but that's what we're building in terms of the SKUs that are being constructed. We've always had that available in the legacy SaaS alerts, like back when we were just negotiating our own deals, and um, not everyone has had those opportunities, but whenever anybody did, they would come to their account manager and they say, "Hey, I got this nonprofit, I got this school, I have this whatever." The account manager would say, "Well, I got to get special permission from Ryan or Jim or Chip or some combination thereof," and we would hammer out a pricing. They were really one-offs. They were all one-offs, and it's going to become standardized moving forward.
Okay, very cool.
And I see your question in there. We're aiming for the system. If you're talking about Kaseya, not SaaS Alerts Direct, we're aiming for the system to be able to quote that by early next month, and to be able for you guys to be able to bring SLED on by beginning of the second quarter at the latest. With the under the logic that at this point in the calendar year, no one's going to be closing SLED deals to start service right now. Like that's my experience anyway. You know, you don't get a school district and they can sign a contract, fund it, and start running service in the middle of the school year. They all set things to roll off in September. Um, so
Yeah.
that's where we're at.
All right. All right. Other things. There was a question if Jim's still on. Jim, there's a question out there from Bay Area for you on SIM. Because that, so I'll let you take a look at that. Okay. So Chip, I was sharing this latest I don't know if you've seen or heard about this one, Rockstar 2FA. It's a latest phishing kit that is out to do some fun stuff. Not only just here, come back here. It's being well advertised, and made a comment, I think, or Tina, somebody, about how well their customer service is, and they actually tout that in the article for the threat actors, but bypassing 2FA, cookie harvesting, et cetera, et cetera. They do a good job of showing the architecture. This is kind of where I left off, resulting, as usual, from the phishing page into an adversary in the middle type attack. They are leveraging Cloudflare Turnstile. That, again, guys, is like a CAPTCHA. So if you think about how they're architecting, and this is really what I want to drive home, right? Not to just beat the same kind of thing to you over and over and over. We've heard about living off the land type attacks, right? When a threat actor gets into an environment, so to evade EDR, they'll start using TeamViewer, Screen Connect, whatever. What we're seeing now with the threat actor at the SaaS level and Chip, love for you to double down on thoughts on this, is they are again using legitimate tools. Well, why? Because they know there's telemetry like a SAS alerts out there looking for nefarious and anomalistic behavior. And the more realistic it looks, the more apt the population is going to go through. Well, it's got a CAPTCHA, that's got to be legitimate, right? It's got a Microsoft looking M365 authentication page, that's got to be legitimate. So so this is the latest one, Chip. Very reasonably priced. You can get it for 200 every 2 weeks or 350 for the month. Did you sign up that fake email yet so we can start doing some of this work?
I was wondering why Ben asked me for the company credit card earlier this week, and now now I know we're gonna see in charges on this.
Yeah, pretty.
So Andrew, I don't think I have heard of Rockstar yet. This seems to me very similar to the tools that we've been using internally already. You know, I don't know. Ben, maybe we should pay for it for a month or two so you can play with it. Obviously we trust you not to actually go out and hack anybody. My head is still exploding, Andrew, over the double click stuff that we went over this week. Did you even bring that to the group yet? Or are you going to save that for another call?
Yeah, I'll bring that on another one. But because this one really, and the reason I wanted to bring this one, Chip, and you certainly can give an insight to it, is I wanted Ben and Leron and you to see this basically from a telemetry standpoint. And I think it might, like you said, it might be worth getting it to see what IOCs you can, get.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're
I mean, the list of services here is very interesting.
Yeah, that's again what I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. On the one side, like I said, do lunch and learns to prospects and customers, explain to them, not in a, the boogeyman's coming, but like this is, how threat actors are operating, right? They're operating using legitimate tools. You can see they very successfully pivoted or I shouldn't say pivoted, they've mirrored their living off the land style within an environment to evade EDR. And you can see they're doing the same type of behavior in the cloud. Is that a good way to sum it up, Chip?
Yeah. Actually, Ben, I think we do want you to put your hands on this. Because when I'm reading here, when I look at this, so Ben, if you were a hacker, you could set up a legitimate 365 environment with OneDrive and send a file to me asking me to OAuth into it and use your fake page as the attacker in the middle when I went to do that.
Yeah.
By the way, Chip, but can I just say one thing? Real
Yeah.
quick? That is the number one way in which Strand and Black Hills are getting in now. That you've just literally outlined one of their major attack patterns, or sorry, uses of legitimate tools, and their hit rate is off the charts.
Oh yeah, that's what we did with the demo. I think last year.
Well,
So just
no, we
shared a
did it.
file.
It was different. It was a little different, Ben, because there was no actual OneDrive behind. There was no actual file behind it, right?
There was. Yeah, there was I used a Word document, but I put an image on it. But I was also going to say that that's kind of why Microsoft discontinued. They used to have this awesome developer like platform. You could sign up and get a full-blown E5 Azure, instance. But all the threat actors said, "Oh, well, this is a good idea," and they started signing up for these free accounts and doing these kind of attacks. So they ruined something pretty good.
Yeah, what I'm saying, Ben, is this is a little bit different than what we did last year with, at Write a Boom and many other times over the year. You created a Word doc that you sent as an attachment that had the link in it. What I'm suggesting here is what this play looks like is whether it's Dynamics or OneDrive or DocView or whatever else, you actually have a legit link back there, not a Word doc that you're as an attachment. You literally are sending me a OneDrive link
Mhm.
that's gonna, and you're sharing with me legitimately, because it's coming from my OneDrive instance. Microsoft hasn't caught up to it yet, doesn't know it's a hacker.
Yeah.
I click on it, and since you shared it to me individually, I have to OAuth in. That's how the authorization goes. And whammo, attacker in the middle. Like, this is the next step beyond what you did.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
It's
Yes,
nasty.
and by the way, this is, you know, they're kind of highlighting right here the HTML code. Chip, this is exactly what you're saying.
Yep.
So the obfuscation is like, hey, it looks legitimate, right? It's from Chip, right? So yeah, they are getting better and better and better at this. Okay, just real quick, I want to get to one thing, but hopefully before we're done. Another one that is in Europe, but I wanted to show it to you because I could foresee it coming. Why wouldn't it come here? Palo, which is Unit 42, Palo Alto, has seen a phishing campaign targeting 20,000 European users. These are the, you know, you can see the sector. They're very much going after manufacturing because on the margin, manufacturing, I would say isn't as well versed in phishing as some of the other uh, um, industries. They are leveraging our good old friends of DocuSign, but what's interesting here, Chip, is they're using legitimate HubSpot to set up the form, which again then takes you into you know, a fake credential sign in. And then they you click the document and again, this is where you have to be similar to what we just talked about, these URLs, right? Which is taking you directly into this nefarious document, and then literally right into HubSpot. So just wanted to share that with you.
Wow. Yep.
Anything on that one, Chip?
It's more of the same. I mean, look, what we're continuing to see is an evolution of what we've been banging the drum of, you know, for the last 18 months, really excessively in 2024. The attacker in the middle is just one variation after another of these happening. And what scares me, Andrew, is, you know, I've been down a rabbit hole lately on building AI agents, and looking at AI co-pilots for software development. And I just think this is going to accelerate so fast because people are going to have really sophisticated AI co-pilots building increasingly sophisticated and targeted AI agents for this same kind of thing. Like, this is not hard to model, right? This weakness in how SaaS platforms work with authorization tokens, it's not a difficult thing to teach an AI agent to write an endless amount of custom scenarios for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I thought was interesting about this one, Chip, is we've seen so often M365 as a target. In this particular case, it was in this, you know, European campaign for these manufacturing organizations, was actually the Azure cloud infrastructure they were going for, which is an interesting one. You wonder what, you know, they would do with the infrastructure. I'm thinking, you know, obviously it would be a launching point for other attacks from a legitimate IPs. Is that probably a good way to think about it?
Yeah, definitely. But also just think about, you know, you've got Azure file storage. I'm like, it's no different than going after AWS S3 buckets, right? You know, you've got people that store mountains of data in these environments. So you want to get in to the Azure platform side and look around and see what assets are there. You know, once you've got credentials, you can go find out.
Yeah. Right. And Eric Monroe mirrored exactly what you beat you to a few seconds before, yeah, our exfil data. All right, I had one more thing, but I'm going to call it because we're at the top of the hour. Really good session. Is Jim still with us or did he have to jump? I think he jumped.
Yeah, I think he did too.
Well,
Bring it on, Andrew.
What's that, bud?
Bring it on.
Bring what particular on, just so I know.
The point you had pending to say that we were out of time and you had something else.
Oh, I'll bring it, like I said, I'll bring it next week. I promise to y'all. It's really interesting. It does have to tie in with Chip mentioned on bots. It has to do with using AI and LLMs around incident response. I think there's actually some really interesting things. Probably better off that I run it by Leron and Chip offline. But I think there's, based on all the amount of data, the alerts that are firing in SaaS alerts, I think there could be some good stuff. But so that's that. But wishing everybody a fantastic week. Thanks for a great call as always. Amy, anything else?
I don't think so. That's it.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody. Sorry I was late.
2025.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.